Hi, my name's Nikolai, aka 56Miner, and today we'll be unboxing our July Basic box. This month's box is all about color pencils. We'll talk a little bit about blending, working on a toned surface, and I'll share some tips and tricks that I picked up when working with the medium. Let's get into it. Our surface this month is going to be an exclusive toned cotton pad from Rembrandt. This pad comes with two colors of paper, a Mystic Blue, which is going to be great for your reds and yellows that'll really make them pop, and an industrial gray, which is a good neutral for whatever color you choose. I really love using color pencils on toned paper because it just makes everything more vibrant and just more exciting to the eye. We're really excited to include the SketchBox Signature Color Pencil set this month. These highly pigmented color pencils are great for blending and soft enough for scratch-free application. While most color pencil sets are primary, we decided to go with more of a neutral palette while still including some of those fun pops of colors. For sharpener this month, we have the Faber-Castell Grip Sharpener. This travel sharpener is great to take outside or to throw in a travel bag, and it doesn't take up much space. Our next item is going to be the Staedtler Brush Eraser. This unique eraser is great for fine details and includes a brush to keep your workstation clean without smudging. For warm-up this month, I want to go over a few techniques that are specific to color pencils as a medium. The first is going to be soft pressure blending. So with soft pressure blending, you're just using a light stroke in order to get some of that pigment on the paper. It's going to be the texture of the paper that really helps to kind of grab and latch onto that pigment. This does take some time to build up color, but it offers us our softest transition. By using small strokes and concentric circles, we can avoid any kind of line that'll break that illusion of that gradient. Our next technique is going to be called hatching, and this is where we use line in order to build out our color and our values. We're going to use short, parallel marks in order to fill our circle, and you'll notice as we kind of build out this color that it's going to offer us kind of a direction and a three-dimensional feel to that circle. It's a fun, textured way to fill in an area of color that'll give you a little bit more volume. Depending on how many times you layer the color pencil, you can completely cover up that gray toned paper or leave it exposed like I am for more of an effect. Our next technique is called cross-hatching. Now, when I cross-hatch, I like to start by going in with a base layer of directional lines and then build up that color post. By being conscious of the form that you're coloring in, you can wrap your lines, which will help create a more three-dimensional effect and depict form more realistically. It's also a great tool to use when you're trying to add texture to a piece. Our next technique is going to be called burnishing. Burnishing starts with soft color blending, so we'll need to go in and get a good base layer going before we can use this technique. I'll go in with some soft pressure to build up those values, and then taking a lighter color pencil, we can go in and burnish it. What that does is it allows you to build form from dark to light, which is kind of unique to color pencils. Taking the white color pencil in our SketchBox set, we can push this even further and create that three-dimensional effect. Notice that we can't really see any of the toned paper in that highlight area, and that's going to be because we've built up that pigment. Using our black, we can create a shadow, which will push the three-dimensional effect even further. Practicing these fundamentals are a great way to elevate your art, but make sure that you remember that a heavy hand will always result in a darker line. Now, I know that working on colored paper can be a bit intimidating, so I've gone ahead and swatched out all the colors in our SketchBox Signature set. You can see that the blues are a little bit more neutral and the reds stick out just a little bit more. Let's use this paper to swatch out the rest of the color pencils in this month's box. Our next two color pencils are going to be from Faber-Castell, Gold Vapor color pencils in Salmon and Carmine. These pencils are smudge resistant and light fast. Swatching these out on our blue paper, you can see what I meant by that high contrast. The pink really just kind of pops off the page. These pencils also lay down super opaque, so you won't be able to see much of that background color. Here we have our Carmine that gives us a similar effect. We can practice our blending by taking our two pencils and creating a soft gradient between the two. When making transitions like this, I like to go in with soft, lighter layers and then alternate between colors to build up that transition point. Let's grab the Kohinoor blender included in this month's box to push that blend even further. By using soft pressure over that transition point, we're mixing that pigment straight on the paper. Now, something to be conscious of is if you use too much pressure, you'll lose that nice texture of the paper itself. The next color pencil in our box is going to be a brand new product from Derwent, and it's going to be the ChromaFlow color pencil in Blush Pink. These color pencils are super saturated and are velvety smooth. This color is going to be a little bit more red than our salmon, and I love these color pencils because you can create a full value range just by alternating the amount of pressure that you use when applying the color. If you ever find that you've applied too much pigment to the paper, try going in with a blender to lift a little bit of that color. For our drawing exercise this month, I wanted to teach you a technique that uses negative space in order to draw things realistically. So for this exercise, we'll be drawing this stool, but we'll be focusing on the empty space outlined in pink, which will help us from getting caught up in the construction of the chair itself. Now, if you've never used negative space construction for drawing, it might seem a little bit tricky or strange at first, but you'll notice that it's actually a lot easier for you to tackle some of those visual problems, like depicting complex shapes. I'll fill in those shapes with our blue since it's going to be our background color, and then go in with our gray to add a few more lines. The hard work of this is already done though, because those abstract shapes give me the structure of the stool. While working from photos is great when you're in a pinch, I would definitely suggest you try this exercise at home using a chair or another object with negative space. You'll be surprised at how accurately you can draw that without actually having to focus on the object itself. My stool came out a little bit taller than the reference image, but that's alright. Once my outlines are established, I can start to focus on light so that we can render this chair realistically. Since we're going to use the gray of our paper as our midtone, I'm actually going to go in with our white to depict areas of light on the stool, and then I'll go in with some gray or some black for the shadow areas. This will create a really nice illusion of form. Be cautious of how much pressure you're using when you're in this stage of the drawing, because you don't want to put down too much pigment too quickly. Now, since we're using the gray of the paper as the midtone for the stool, we need to fill in that background. So I'm going to do that really quickly, and then in order to build shadow, I'm going to take that blue color pencil and use it in areas where there's a cast shadow. If you've ever had a drawing and you wonder why it doesn't look quite right, try to think of the lighting in the situation. That usually helps give a little bit more realism to any piece. Next, I'll go in with that light blue again, just to kind of soften those shadows a bit and help that background stand out from the stool. Next, I'll take our black to darken up a few areas and give our stool just a little bit more structure. Using our eraser to pull up some of that color pencil where needed and to lighten up a few areas. And with that, our drawing exercise is complete. Hope you enjoyed the video, learned a few things, and if you post your work online, make sure you use #SketchBoxJuly. We love seeing what y'all create each month, and I'll see you next month.